Welcome, everyone, and so good to have you here on Teacher's Table. I am super pumped to have you guys here. We got lots to discuss, lots of things have happened this past week, and also it's the kickoff to 2021 in terms of the school year. This is our first Teacher's Table with that, so as always, would love to hear you guys or hear from you guys throughout this chat. I'd love to have you guys post some comments off to the side. So without further ado, let's get started and see who we have here. Emma made it. Good to see you, Emma. That's awesome. And Kathy Sue made it. Fantastic to see you, Kathy. We had a fun little Teachers Tavern chat last night where we all got together on Zoom. That was super fun, so good to see you here this morning. Same with you, Jason. Good to have you here today. Hopefully you have your coffee. And let's see who else we got. Amanda Gray made it. Good to see you, Amanda. She is the sort of captain of the Teachers Tavern, and that was super fun last night, so thanks for having us there. Addie Witt made it. Good to see you, Addie. David made it. Jordan made it. We got just a great crew this morning. So let's start with some positive, happy news here, and that is just how has your 2021 school year been, both for the students as well as the teachers here? I'd love to hear from you guys. My first week back was kind of a shortened week because we had Monday, everyone was required to get tested. So Monday we kind of had off other than getting tested. And then we only had a 4-day week, which was kind of a nice way to go back from a break. Because we teach sort of in a block schedule. So I see half the kids one day, half the kids the other day. And so in a 4-day week, by the time you finish that second lesson, you're kind of like, ooh, the week's over. So that was a bit of a surprise. I was putting in the homework for another class thinking and yours is going to be due the next day. And I was like, oh, it's the weekend. Next day is Monday. But nonetheless, I digress. Curious how your guys' week has been. Amanda, it was a great time with friends, right? And we're so missing that, I think, here in Corona. I can't believe it's gone on as long as it's gone on. That's extra crazy. Elizabeth made it to this morning. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Good to see you here. Hopefully you had a good night last night. Let's see, what does Jason say? We were remote for the first week and returning in person on Monday. The students were incredibly resilient, and I'm so proud of them. Can't imagine doing remote all year. So you're going back this coming Monday. That's awesome. It is scary, though, as well. So I just want to recognize that for you, that I know that's got to be a mix of emotions for you, right? That you have kind of the enthusiasm of being with the kids again. But at the same time, you have that fear factor. So I wish you the best. Emma hurt her wrist yesterday, so she says it was good until she ran over her wrist. Oh. Remote learning for 3 weeks with possibility of extending it if cases don't go down. It was a great week of remote band. I have to say, we were remote this year. The only time we were remote this year, we had a chunk of time between that led up, around Thanksgiving. I'll just say that. It was led up to Thanksgiving. And it was nice. It was 2 weeks. What I loved about it is to be 100% in one ecosystem as a teacher, right? A teacher, you're trying to design that lesson and make it just right. And the reality is you're designing for 2 very different experiences when you do our synchronous lessons that we're making at our school. So trying to make a lesson that works for the online platform as well as kids in the classroom, but not kids in the classroom the way you used to have it. It's kids in the classroom in rows. It is maddening trying to design for two platforms and give both sets of kids kind of as close to an equal experience. And I mean, every teacher here at Teacher's Table, I guarantee you guys feel the same way I do. You always want to give the best experience you can for your students, and whether they're digital or non-digital. So what I loved about being virtual was that was the only time this year, that was the only slice, that 2-week slice, where everybody was doing the same thing. And to design for one platform, that felt good, both in terms of the mind, but also the heart for my students, for sure. Allie, good morning. You guys stayed up late. I know that. Good to see you here. Kathy Sue, remote till end of February. I also like schools that are doing that, where like they're kind of extending out far, not just sort of this like, well, just this week and then maybe next week and then just maybe next. As a designer, again, you're designing whole units, so you kind of need to have that kind of runway so that you know you're gonna have that time. You're gonna have that time to design the unit. You're gonna have the time to implement that whole unit that way. So that's pretty cool. Elizabeth, we are face-to-face with virtual students too. It was challenging making up finals this week. Hybrid plans are in discussion due to numbers going up. Like I said, good luck. I mean, like, teaching at the same time, virtual and in person, I get it. Like, I'm not complaining, but it is probably one of the hardest design challenges, more than just Corona rows for me, where the kids are in rows, or more than just being online. Doing both at the same time is like, way more. It's like they say with parenting, like when I only have one child, but when you get the third child, it's like a game changer. Like, you're no longer, man to man. You have to switch to zone defense. It's like that. Like, you think it's the same thing. You're teaching a lesson, but like, you add that virtual or you add that in person at the same time, and that changes everything. Ms. Matera is a bit of a trust fall for sure. I have never felt unsafe in my school, but lots of community cases for sure. I 100% hear you. We're all at different comfort levels in terms of this. There are some people that really feel like it's okay. We need to get out there. We need to start life again. And I know there are people that are like, they have minded their P's and Q's all along. And so to ask your employer to ask just like, come in and do this thing, where you're mixing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students, that's hard if you've been like sheltering in place. Our government delayed the students' return to Monday, January 11th, so that we're doing PD and planning this week, and it was great. Oh man, would I have loved that, to be honest. Like, just hey, teachers, we're going to give you 3-4 days, not fill it with meetings, but say like, spend some time designing for that next semester. I would have loved that. Like that. Kudos to your district for thinking of that. That's fantastic. We had 2 weeks of virtual in October. I like doing just one job. 100%. 100%. I agree. It was super tough trying to teach face-to-face, and there for the ones on Zoom in quarantine. It is really tough. And like I said, totally get why we're doing it, because we're going to have kids drop into quarantine. And so I get it. Like, again, I'm not saying anybody's made the wrong decision, but it is tough. We started back with hybrid on Wednesday with 2 prep days before, but have 3 full remote classes at the same time. So it's like having 3 different plans going all at once. Yeah, I feel like sometimes those people that are like spinning the plates, and we got this plate spinning, and then we got to like hold this and then get this plate spinning. It is not easy. Not easy. And I feel for you on that one. Janet finally got here. We split K9 face-to-face. 10-12 is split. Also have distance edge for those who need it. That's a mouthful. That's a list of things that you are trying to do as a district, and then it ultimately gets put on the shoulders of teachers to do. By and large, I hope your parent body has been kind and responsive in all of this. I will say parents and students, I think, have been very good during this whole Corona time and understand the demands that we're under. We just had grades go out, and that was a bit of a like hold your breath moment because this is a challenging year, and kids, I feel for kids in Corona that like it's hard to stay focused on the studies. You haven't really like done as much, you haven't really seen your friends as much. Like there can be that malaise of life, and as such, that has impacted some students' grades for sure. Some kids haven't really like studied the way they should have studied. They haven't really like put the effort into like the notes and studying like before. So my grades did range quite a bit, if you will. So we at school do kind of standard-based grading, but then it's weird. Then at the end, you have to translate that into you have an A or a B or a C. And I conference with kids this year more than I've ever. I did it 3 times this year, so that they kind of knew where they were at. Tried to tell them what they needed to do to maintain that or course correct. But I gotta tell you, most kids, I shouldn't say most, but many kids took that advice, and the regular check-ins with them made a big difference. So hopefully, if you guys have to grade and you're feeling nervous about that grading, one of the best things for me, and I think hopefully for my students, I have a few on here, maybe if they're still here, they could say whether that was good or bad, but conferencing with them, I think empowered them. It empowered them to know that like, ooh, I do have to sort of focus a little more. I do have to sort of double down on that effort. Let's see. Dropped the assessment and reporting expectations to support teachers. Only do big ideas. Jan, there's a bit of a discussion about that at our school. We have a thing, so I teach at a private school, and we have a thing called academic probation, and that's if kids score low enough. And there are a lot of kids that are scoring low enough, but is it because they truly didn't do the work and couldn't do the work? Or is it rolled into this awkward year? And we just got an email last week that said for this past semester, we're setting aside academic probation. So kids that score that way are not going to kind of automatically trigger the steps that happen when you go on academic probation. And I think that was a good move, but I like kind of what you say your district's doing. They dropped reporting expectations, because at the same time we dropped that, we didn't drop the actual grade reporting for teachers. So there's, I definitely got my fair share of parent emails who, wanted to know how the grade got decided, and and you have to sort of justify that. It would have been nice if we could have kind of set aside most of that, because my students, by and large, are doing the right thing. Many of them are doing just great work. They're trying, they're working hard. And a lot of you know about my class, it's a gamified class. A lot of the things they're working on, they don't even have to work on. It's not even for the grade. So we are truly talking about students who are going above and beyond because they want to learn, because they want to explore, because they want to level up their learning a little bit, or they want to be a little more creative, or they want to help out their team. There's lots of reasons that they want to do what they want to do, but none of that's graded, and they're still doing the work. So I just wish we would take the step and say, hey, these are unprecedented times. Let's just sort of set that aside and maybe go to an all comment writing grading system in which we kind of let kids know how they're doing, like my conferences. And then, you could still put in a nice write-up that, you haven't really been putting in the effort. We understand these unprecedented times. But then to put the D- on that, you know that's just going to aggravate people. Let's see. Jason writes, I feel so conflicted about assessments this year, as nothing feels like an authentic demonstration of learning. Evaluations of teachers during this time feels especially inappropriate. Gotta hand it to my district on that. They did set aside sort of our review process. They are definitely having drop-ins, and they're checking us out, and they're like having great conversations with us about the pressures as well as about what we're doing. But they're sort of removing the sort of formality of those teacher observations, right? I don't have to like write up what were my targets and what did I do, and analyze it. And we have a very big system where you have to kind of pre-write what you think is going to happen. You sort of do a post write-up, and then you meet with them. It's good, but like it's cumbersome, and I'm glad that they set that aside just for sheer workload. Like if I had to do that on top of the hours of prep to make the next lesson or unit, I just don't think people understand how long it takes. The last 2 days of my Christmas break were entirely spent lesson planning for my school for 2021. I was launching a new unit, so I had to make some side quests, and I had to graphically make those, and then I make this sort of website that lays it out, and then I make my lesson plan and put that out. All in all, I want to say it was probably 18 hours worth of work that I had to put in the last 2 days before school started. So like last 2 days of my break were 18 hours of web design, side quest design. Kids are loving it, I think. I rolled it out this week. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it. We had some difficult conversations this week because of some political events. So some of my lesson plans got paused. But all in all, I know they're liking the website. They're checking some things out. I did a whole new adventure path. It was super cool. But I don't think people realize the amount of time that goes into that. Let's see. Amanda says, Mr. Matera, I have reflection chats with my students at the end of every week. It is interesting to hear how they are handling the remote learning. Some love it, some are struggling with it. Probably my favorite thing, Amanda, about remote learning was actually the ability to connect and chat with students. And I think that that's super weird that I'm saying one of the best things was to connect with students, when a lot of teachers would say virtual learning makes them feel less connected. But I don't know about you, but the flow of my actual workday, like pre-corona, when I'm at school, my kids, it's middle school, like when the bell rings, we actually have 0 passing minutes. So like technically when a kid's dismissed from my class, they're technically late for the next class. So you don't have like breathing room. Like if I wanted to check in with a kid, there isn't like a 5-minute passing period where I could kind of say, hey, Timmy, hang back for a second. I want to ask you something. It was just kind of like, go on to the next class, go on to the next class, go on to the next class. And you just hope that you remember maybe at lunch to pull a kid aside and sort of talk to him. And then 9 out of 10 times you don't, because at lunch you're dealing with this, that, and the other. We have to be at our lunch tables and all sorts of stuff. During remote teaching, we had these big 15-minute blocks between classes. We actually had these office hours at the end of the day. It was the most that I like interacted with my advisees, able to have like meaningful dialogue. I loved it. That is probably the thing I'm going to miss the most. Emma says she likes a lot the conferencing that I do with students, so that's good to know. What's Janet say? Grading ABC during the pandemic needs to be addressed. We are moving all reporting to proficiency standards and portfolio conversations. This shows growth over time. Janet, I totally agree. While you might not agree with how I necessarily do my grade book, but I kind of like it. Actually, I do like it. It's not even kind of. I give 4 scores per unit. Content, skill, process, and then the sort of major assessment. And kids have sort of a web portal they can look at that I've sort of built, and they can see for each unit content, skill, process, and assessment. They can then see the feedback they got on all of those each unit. And that feedback's happening every unit. And then again, along the way, I have those conferences, And then we do have comments that we write up on kids. And I think all of this does a better job of explaining to parents and the student some of their strengths and some of the challenges they have to work on, far more than a B- or a D+ or whatever. To me, that is not that rewarding or informative. So it arguably is damaging. So I hope our school eventually can drop that letter grade and we can kind of go to more of these like reporting features that we're talking about in class. That would be awesome. Totally with you. 100%. I pose a question for the table. One of my biggest struggles is students just want to start the work without reading the instructions, watching in the explainer video. Then they're confused. Amanda, that is a great question and probably going to be a constant problem that we have as teachers, especially as middle school teachers. I shouldn't say especially. I can speak about middle schoolers the most, and I know they definitely do that. They'll look at something and right away say like, I'm confused, but it's like, but did you, like I literally just handed it to you. Did you even read the direction? Like, no, but I'm confused. This seems confusing. Well, how about we try our hand at doing the directions here? So I will say, one of the things that I think you can do, it takes a bit of professional judgment on your part, but I actually try not to help my students in those moments. And here's the professional judgment, right? You have to like know which student, there are sometimes students need more support, or you know what you've laid out is pretty big and challenging, and you know when you should probably slow down. But a lot of times I really try to empower the student, and at first they don't like it, and probably even now they don't like it because it is more work. But when you empower the student, when you kind of say like, it's right there, you guys can do it, they start to realize not to even ask you that question because they can do it. And so it's a little bit of this trust, right? The moment you start doing that, Amanda, where maybe you stop really like answering all of those questions, at first, like the complaints and maybe the insecurity will go up, both in you and the students. But once you get over that hump, they start to realize like the directions are all there. Like, she does lay this out in a way that makes sense, right? But like they have to first get over that hump, and you have to give the space for that to happen. So I don't know. I guess I would say stop doing it is kind of the number one way. But again, there's an asterisk on the stop doing it. I obviously tremendously help my students. We're in my new adventure path is kind of wacky, kind of crazy, and so I'm definitely taking time to explain what I'm expecting there, for example. Any tips? Again, I still say one of the best tips is getting them used to your level of help. It's actually the same thing I think about in terms of, Amanda, you read Make Time, that book I suggested here on Teacher's Table. Great book, by the way. And one of the sections in there we're talking about email and how we have convinced ourselves that we have to respond quick and fast and everybody, and I have to check email 100 times a day because I have to respond 100 times a day if somebody sends something to me. And the book really says most email is just not needed at all. But we've created a culture that like when you hit that tennis ball email, like somebody's going to hit it back, and then you're going to hit it back, and there's just this expectation. So if this book suggests, and this was written by two people that worked on the Google Gmail, said literally stop writing emails. And at first, everyone else will interact with you like normal. They're going to serve up that ball, serve up that ball, serve up that ball. But eventually, they start to realize like that communication isn't necessarily needed, and you only kind of get served ones that are needed, and you politely respond to those in due time, not immediately. So I usually write back anywhere from 24 to 36 hours after I get an email. And you know what? My email's manageable. I absolutely love it. And kind of that same philosophy here. We get into this thinking that our students are lost and we better walk them through the process, a better thing to do is slow down, even if it means you get through like a little less in the year. Like if you get through half less of a unit, but part of the training you've given your students is taking the time to sort of read that, and you not necessarily jumping in to make sure they get the directions. That's a powerful gift you're giving your students, because you are empowering them. And you're actually making the entire system of school stronger by doing so. If students felt that resistance in every class, that a teacher wasn't going to jump in right away, that they would move on to the next class with the expectation that this teacher probably doesn't jump in right away. But again, we build this culture of like, we want everyone to succeed right away, as opposed to truly embracing the growth mindset we talk about, right? We talk about learning from failure, yet we build an entire system in school around no failure, right? We really do build an entire system around like, we're gonna give you so much practice, we're gonna practice, then we're gonna take the assessment. So the hope is like that you get it, and you get a A, right? So I don't know. That's probably a big soapbox that I just stood on. Amanda, I hope it helps. I don't know. I haven't checked the comments here. Let's see. I started the week with check-ins with each and every new teacher I work with. It is something that they told me they really appreciate. I think that's a nice touch, that check-in. Like I said, I want to do it with my students more this next semester. So I did it 3 times. Now I want to try to do it like 4 or 5 times this next semester. We'll see. Jason says, Amanda, I started every day with a 10 to 15 minute Google Meet for exactly that reason. We walk through the expectations and instructions, and then I set them free in the afternoon. That's awesome, like a little powwow. And again, if that's the expectation, that we're going to come here and I'm going to walk through these, but then after that, I'm really hoping you're looking at those directions. That's a great like solution as well. Emma says, I saw the note card late. I like to hide some side quests, and sometimes I hide them in places I want them checking. And so, for example, that learning target sheet that I told you that they can see, I put on there a little side quest they could do this past week. Jennifer Knox made it. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying a restful weekend so far. I am. No problem, Amanda. Like I said, I hope that helped, and I hope it wasn't too soapboxy. Probably was. Let's be honest. Jordan, I totally agree with empowering students with scaffolding about instructions. I tell students that I don't like to take away their discovery of solutions to problems and the pride they get. I love it, Jordan. That is what I'm talking about, right? I absolutely love that, like, I don't know, that growth. They feel stronger, right? Because they got the solution. And I think that that's good. We also talk about being advocates. But again, if we just, I don't know, if they know we're going to answer everything, I think part of advocacy is a little bit of that empowerment first. And if you're just going straight to asking without any level of empowering, you're not really going to grow up to be a good advocate for yourself, I would say. Talking work email of the phone for Kyle was one of the best, taking work email off the phone was one of Kyle's best things for his mental health. I think it's good. I think we have to sort of cut that email cord in general as a society and as schools. I think we need to, as teachers, just at least the internal body of teachers and admin, I think we have to recognize email is not the greatest for an internal solution, because we can't dictate the external, right? I can't tell parents not to email me. I can't do that. But the thing that we as an institution are in control of is our internal email. So creating an email culture that leans towards that politeness of keep it short. I opened an email the other day. It was like 6 paragraphs from one of our admin, and I had kids coming in, and like I wanted to check it because it looked important. So 6 paragraphs comes up. Kids are walking in. I had to close that email, and right now is the first time I'm thinking like, oh shoot, I never like went back and read that, because like, why did you put a 6 paragraph email together? Like, we are super busy, and then I'm gonna have to feel like I have to respond back to a 6 paragraph email, right? Like, it just, Let's get those down to sort of tweet emails that really like target what needs to be said. Or some schools and some businesses I know have coding systems in the subject line that they teach everybody, just like 3-4 codes where like, you know, if you have to respond, or you know if it's just informational, like here's just an information dump, like cool. There's some that I know, there's actually what is it? No NNTO, no need to open. So if they put NNTO in front, it literally means the question is the subject line, right? So you could just straight up put like, is recess outside today? There's nothing inside this email. So I can just put NNTO. And I think those things help and they feel great. And then that also gives the other teacher, the license to respond back with like just yes, like they don't have to like write like a long thing. I dig it. Again, man, we are off topic. Well, let's see, there's all sorts of comments here. Oh, John Spike made it. You're still pushing that joke. Teacher's stable. I love it. John Spike's a great guy. Another Wisconsinite, also gamer. Love that. Let's see here. All right, guys. I did just catch the time. It is 8:32. Thank you so much for coming. We actually didn't address, which is sort of funny, the topic that I had laid out, but we kind of went through just sort of how we're all feeling and what we're all bringing to the school this year. But yeah, my whole thing was going to be talking a little bit about what happened in the Capitol and how to address that with students. And I just want you all to know that I know that is a difficult conversation, and one that, you know, some of you probably approached directly, some of you didn't. And I guess I just wanted to encourage us all. It's important to have those difficult conversations. And the other thing that I wanted to say on it, if we got to it, I wanted to sort of compliment my students. I teach 6th grade, and I had a lesson plan kind of laid out to talk about that. And at first I had some of these slides that would sort of like do some cool compare and contrast and really like show them some things. And then I walked by this with my department chair, and he really like kind of pointed out like, wouldn't that be better just coming from them? So I like cut all these slides out, and really I asked them what they knew already, and I asked them what they sort of notice and what they sort of wonder about this situation. And then we played 2 different clips, one from Trump and one from Biden, that was kind of urging the protesters to go home. And again, just asking what do they notice and what do they wonder, and all sorts of big ideas, big concepts came from them. And then I just got to respond back to what they were saying. And I guess it was just amazing to me how much I think that they were informed, as well as how much I think it was needed to talk about. And I think sometimes as teachers, we so want to shelter our students from things because they're big and they're hard and they're complicated even for us adults. So we just maybe don't want to bring it up for our students. But I think the thing that made me the most happy this week was the realization that, like, I think our democracy, our world is going to be okay because of those kids. Those kids asked really good questions. Those kids noticed and brought up, without me having to sort of lead them down that path, powerful questions about equity, fairness, justice, fault. Like, how did we get here? And then they even started to dial back, that it wasn't just a single tweet or a single protest or a single law or bill. It's a complicated issue, but this came from 6th graders. They compared Black Lives Matter response to this without me saying anything. We have to give our students more credit, but the fact that our student body was that aware and able to sort of articulate that, and at very least wonder about that fairness. It gave me a lot of hope. So that was a little bit about what we were supposed to talk about today. I know we didn't do it, but I did want to get it in there, and I hope you guys are encouraged to have other difficult conversations with your students when things happen in the news. It's also not too late to still process that. That could be your Monday lesson plan, where we're kind of like, hey, we've given it some time, we've given it some thought. Like, where are you guys all at on this? And have an open discussion. Whether that takes 5 minutes, whether that takes 25 minutes, or whether it takes 60 minutes. Like, giving your students that space, I think it's going to be something that they remember, that you've given them that space to process something. And I don't care if you teach science, English, social studies, math, whatever. Giving students that space could be one of the more impactful things we all do. So hopefully, I don't know, hopefully you guys try that. All right, so wrapping up, because we are 6 minutes over here. Thank you for coming back to Teacher's Table, and we're in 2021. I am really excited to get started on all the things this year. XP community, if you haven't been to it, it's our Twitter book chat on the Explore Like a Pirate, but it's not really a book chat. It's really more just the ethos or philosophy around playful and gamified learning. Love to have you guys drop in there. That is Tuesday at 9 Central Standard Time. I'm starting already to do some work on Hive Summit for next summer. Got some exciting things there. Trying to line up some speakers. I think I have 2 locked in already, and still trying to get the rest. But let's have an awesome time. Oh, on the XP Lab, I'm super excited. I really want this community focused. There's so many great people there. And so I asked several people to volunteer and see if they could do some chats. And I was blown away. I mean, I thought like maybe some people would sign up. Everyone I asked signed up. And we have a few empty slots, but for the most part, that thing just filled like that. It was super awesome. So thank you everyone for that. And I hope you guys have a good day. Let's see if I missed anything. Jason giving me a little clap, clap, clap. Thank you very much. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Ooh, hello. Much love to you all. Always nice to see you all here. Have a wonderful day. Hive Summit. Woo woo. Have a great weekend. Can't wait. Thanks for a great chat. I love it. All right, everybody. You have a great rest of your weekend. Take care.